Coming up, Missouri's governor plans a European trip aimed at promoting international trade with the state.
Heat advisories in effect yet again across the area. The latest on the forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the deadly job of a firefighter becomes even more dangerous in this heat. Joplin's first responders have some tips for how to deal with these scorching summer temperatures.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. It's hot yet again. I mean, we could just replay yesterday's forecast in all honesty. I mean, with the way things are going. The only difference is, Bourbon, Cherokee, Crawford, and counties in Kansas and all of southwest Missouri, heat advisory until Sunday at 8. All other counties in southeast Kansas, it runs until Saturday at 8. And northeast Oklahoma, heat advisories until Friday at 8. So they have different expiring times, but everybody is being impacted once again because it's going to be another hot one once again. 7th and range light looking pretty good so far. We're starting the morning out pretty decently as well. This is probably our next to last, if not last, decent start to the day, sitting at 70 degrees right now. Across the area, that's where we're starting. Most of us, we've got mid 60s to lower 70s starting out the day, and it's going to be, again, just another hot one. But we have the chance of an isolated shower, maybe a thunderstorm later on this afternoon. Otherwise, remaining dry, highs pushing to about 100 degrees and cooling off maybe one more time tonight, starting the day in the lower 70s once we get into tomorrow morning. But as I mentioned, this is the kind of one more time that we're going to cool down like this because temperatures are going to continue to rise, and more specifically, our overnight lows are going to start to warm back up as well. There's better looking chances of relief on the way. We've just got a few more days before we get there, but there is hope on the horizon, at least a little bit of something coming our way.
In the meantime, it's comfortable outside right now.
Right now, yes. It's kind of like we were saying yesterday, you know, with the extreme heat, you want to avoid outdoor activities. So if you're up right now, or if you are an early riser and you like to get things done quickly, now is the time to go outside and take care of it. And of course, we got the KOAM Plus app, so you can take us with you while you're out there doing whatever you need to do in your front lawn at 5 a.m.
There you go. And if you want to wait till sunrise, it's what, like 6:14?
6:15 this morning. 6:15 this morning. It's getting a minute later almost each day. So
there you go.
Changing seasons on the way.
Still got a couple hours of cool before the
just a couple hours, because I mean, once that sun's up in the sky, it's over. And all bets are off for the temperatures, and they will rise rapidly.
There you go. All right, thanks, Chris. A head-on crash in Newton County, Missouri kills both drivers. It happened just after 7:30 morning yesterday on East Highway 86, just west of Newtonia. Investigators say a car driven by 36-year-old Diana Bittner of Neosho, Missouri, crossed the center line and collided with a car driven by 66-year-old Jane Taylor of Stark City, Missouri. Bittner died at the scene. Taylor was flown to a hospital where she died. There were no other people in either car. Missouri Governor Parson and First Lady Teresa Parson will travel to Germany and the Netherlands next week to promote Missouri international trade. The governor's office said in a statement that Germany and the Netherlands are important trade partners for Missouri, with more than $902 million in Missouri goods exported to the two countries last year. The trip is funded by the Hawthorne Foundation, a Missouri nonprofit organization. Missouri Governor Mike Parson issues an executive order to help deal with the drought. The governor says it's in response to increasingly dry conditions taking a toll on farmers and ranchers, especially in Missouri's southern counties. Among other things, the governor has directed the Departments of Natural Resources and Conservation to create a process for allowing farmers water access at state parks and conservation areas. And the DNR will assess state park areas that can be made available for haying.
This drought also impacts a large portion of our cattle industry in the state of Missouri. We are the #3 cow-calf state in the country, and this is going to have a huge impact on our markets. There's little to no grass for livestock. Producers are having to make some really tough decisions.
Parson has directed all state agencies to examine how they might help communities, temporarily suspending administrative rules. Dangerous heat continues to impact large portions of the country. The National Weather Service says above normal temperatures will continue across much of the United States through the end of the week. Trinity Chavez reports.
Utility workers in Queens, New York spent hours Thursday trying to restore electricity to hundreds of customers who lost power during one of the hottest stretches of the summer.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I sat outside here until 10 to 4 this morning.
In Baltimore, some people sat in the shade to beat the heat. More than 100 million Americans are under excessive heat warnings and advisories, and the above normal temperatures are expected to continue across much of the United States through the end of the week. Despite the scorching temperatures, some people are still heading outside, but with a few extra precautions.
The best thing I try to do is stay hydrated. That's the important part.
Petty cab driver Amadou Traore says he drinks a lot of water and stays in the shade in between passengers, but there's an upside to this heat.
Most people don't really want to walk in this heat, so sometimes it kind of brings more customers.
In Central Texas, Brenda Long put an umbrella over her air conditioning unit to save money on her electricity bill, which was $300 last month.
This is the most expensive statement I received since I've been in this house for 26 years.
But AC repairman Gary Mahan says putting umbrellas over AC units can do more harm than good.
All it does is cause it to recirculate hot air into the condenser.
Still, with the temperatures this hot, people are going to do whatever they can to stay cool. Trinity Chavez, CBS News, New York.
With much of the nation dealing with this prolonged heat wave, President Biden announced yesterday new executive actions to combat climate change, including a $2.3 billion investment to build climate-resistant infrastructure. Well, in this heat wave, Joplin firefighters have one of the most dangerous jobs, and you might wonder how they tolerate the heat with all the gear. Authorities provided a variety of tips to stay safe, including advice to not drink coffee, as it is a diuretic and can dehydrate you.
Hydration is important. Making sure that you're physically fit for the job and making sure that you train yourself to become acclimated into these conditions. Hydration, I would say, is 100% your most important factor into firefighting in these kinds of conditions.
An official also says to be aware of metal, plastics, and the heat inside of your car during the summer months. Coming up a little later in the show, our own Shagun Bamidila takes a look at the story.
So, it's hot. It's going to remain that way, and that's what we've been talking about. I mean, every news story we've got is about the heat. You know, yesterday, by the noon hour, the drought conditions map had updated and placed a good chunk of the area in the severe drought. Temperatures, though, right now starting off pretty decently. We're mostly in the lower 70s to start our day, but they're going to warm up again into the lower 100s to about 100 degrees, maybe a pinch cooler than what we have seen. Because we got an isolated shower, maybe a storm chance this afternoon. Most of us, though, remaining dry. Temperatures overnight dipping off into the lower 70s, and a quick look at that 7-day shows that this is about the last decent night we're going to have before those overnight lows start reaching up into the 80s, and temperatures for afternoon highs start pushing close to 110. But you can see, and we'll go into the 7-day more in depth, we've got increasing rain chances next week.
Well, that's good. Something to look forward to.
Yeah, something we desperately need at this point.
Yeah, we're grasping for it. All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Joplin Little Leaguers get ready to bust out some big bats as they take on Northwest in the state tournament. We'll talk to their head coach about the team's chances.
Plus, the San Diego Comic-Con is the biggest convention for pop culture in the world, and it's back in person after a 3-year hiatus. We're going to take you for a look inside.
And extreme heat can be more than just uncomfortable. It can be dangerous. Coming up, we've got tips for keeping yourself safe during this heat wave. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Joplin Outlaws locked down a spot in the 2022 playoffs, but the work is far from over. The Outlaws are hunting down the program's first ever South Division title. They are currently leading the division with 3 games remaining. Joplin has momentum. They're riding a 9-game winning streak, which ties the program record. These guys are dialed in and excited for a chance to make some history.
I am extremely happy for this group. Like I've said time and time again, they've come together to play the game selflessly, and they're not getting out of their swings. They're not walking too many guys as of late, and they're making other teams earn their runs, and that's the key for really good baseball. I think we have the position guys to get it done, and I think our pitching is riding high at the moment to be able to get the job done as well.
Joplin put their win streak on the line on the road last night facing Jefferson City. The Outlaws fought to stay in this one, but the Renegades would slam the brakes on Joplin's hot streak with a 14-6 victory. Joplin Little League Junior League team hosts the state tournament this weekend. They face Northwest in the opening game this evening at 6. This will actually be the first time this particular group hits the field together. That's because this is an all-star team made up of players from a handful of junior league teams who were selected by their teammates and coaches to be on the roster.
This is a very talented group of young men. They have a lot of skill sets that you want. I was very lucky to get this team. From the starters to the guys that are going to come in and relieve them, there's very little difference. They're extremely coachable. They pick up really quickly on what we try to teach them, but best of all, they're good teammates. I think we're prepared. This team is ready to play tomorrow.
Now, ESPN's annual award show, the ESPYs, celebrates the top moments and players in the world of sports. This year's event was held Wednesday night in Los Angeles. Cardinal slugger Albert Pujols received the Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian Award. The award is given to an athlete whose, quote, continuous demonstrated leadership has created a measured positive impact on their community. Pujols Foundation focuses on 2 different causes. It supplies aid to communities in the Dominican Republic as well as supporting those with Down syndrome. A few other local teams and players won awards. The Chiefs and Bills overtime thriller in the AFC divisional round won Best Game, and Oklahoma softball standout Jocelyn Allo won Best Female College Athlete. Well, still to come, the House votes to codify a decades-old Supreme Court ruling which protects the rights of couples to buy and use contraception. Will it pass the Senate? Plus, we've got to check out that forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. We are in store for another hot day across the 4 states, and we've got a few more to get through before we might actually see a little bit of relief. So here's what we're watching. Of course, today, now day number 12 of 100-degree temperatures so far this year. Heat advisories continue through the weekend for most of us, and we're watching these little guys, some increasing rain chances by next week. Skywatch Storm Tracker is high and dry right now, but it is showing these heat advisories. The latest run until Sunday at 8, but depending on where you are, they do have some varying expiring times through the end of the week. It's not to say they won't be extended, as we'll continue to see hot conditions, but for right now, they're set to expire Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, depending on where you are. 7th and Range Line, it is clear. It is nice right now, 70 degrees. We're all starting the day in roughly the lower 70s, some upper 60s on the board as well. As we progress through the day, temperatures will rise again to about 100 degrees for most of us, perhaps a pinch warmer than that. But we are watching maybe an isolated shower, possibly a storm chance as we head through the rest of the afternoon and early evening. And then temperatures will dip back down into the mid-70s as overnight lows. Unfortunately, this is about the last good night we've got before overnight lows start transitioning to considerably warmer positions. We'll take a look at the full forecast a little later. Well, Comic-Con is here, which will mean the Gas Lamp and Convention Center will be flooded with comic lovers and people in costume. More than 135,000 tickets were sold, making this year's Comic-Con event sold out. This year's 4-day event will have award-winning authors, special guests, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is attending for the first time for his upcoming film, Black Adam.
It's the return of Comic-Con to San Diego.
The atmosphere is electric, and we're ready. We're back in the mix, so we're happy.
Joe Tirado and his family of villains made it into town for the event all the way from New Jersey.
It's amazing. It shows that we're going back to normalcy, that everyone's back out here. We're celebrating. The costumes are out, the cosplayers are out, and it's just a great atmosphere.
And just like him, hundreds of thousands of people are descending into downtown San Diego for the 4-day event.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot to be excited about. I'm super stoked to be back. It's been incredible as usual.
Businesses throughout the Gaslamp Quarter are set to benefit tremendously from the large crowds. Allison McKay at Cafe Sevilla says staff have been preparing for this moment for months.
We weren't expecting this many people, and we're actually really excited and really happy for it because it brings a lot of business to us, especially after the pandemic, and it just makes it even better to be around, being downtown.
Gaslamp Quarter social media manager Alma Asensio says Comic-Con is one of the biggest events of the year for businesses.
It's our second New Year's Eve basically for us. Comic-Con brings a lot of business. Our merchants are happy. We have a lot of offers going on. We just are excited, and our businesses are just happy to have this impact from globally, nationally, and from Tijuana coming over and just, having fun here in Gaslamp Quarter and having fun at Comic-Con.
So, as a big Star Trek fan myself, if I had the time and money to go out there, believe me, I would be there. That brings us to our morning talker. Our question to you is, what's your favorite part of pop culture? Is it comic books, video games, movies, TV, anime, cartoons, music, or perhaps something different? You can vote KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. You can do so in the KOAM News Now app and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We're back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the House voted Thursday to codify a decades-old Supreme Court ruling relating to contraception. The 1965 Griswold versus Connecticut decision protects the right of married couples to buy and use contraceptives without government restriction. It's a decision that conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has suggested the current court might revisit. The vote was largely along party lines. The bill is not expected to pass the Senate. Well, more than 160 million women worldwide cannot get the contraception they need. A new study published Thursday in the British medical journal Lancet looks at statistics from 2019, the most recent available data. The authors studied women between the ages of 15 and 49 in 204 countries and territories. Women ages 15 to 24 have the greatest unmet need for contraception. Globally, the greatest need for birth control was reported in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Of all natural disasters, heat is the #1 killer as tens of millions of Americans continue to face extreme temperatures. Experts urge you to be careful. Mandy Gaither has more on what the heat can do to your body and mind.
It's a heat wave of massive proportions.
It's much cooler down here when you get out here early. If you wait until about 12 o'clock, you can forget about it.
As temperatures rise, so do risk factors. The stifling heat can affect your body and mind.
The combination of high temperature and high humidity creates the right condition for a heat emergency.
Two of the most common heat-related conditions are heat stroke and heat exhaustion. With heat stroke, the body can't cool itself. A person with heat stroke may sweat profusely or not at all. They can become confused or pass out and could also have a seizure. Heat exhaustion happens when the body loses too much water or salt through excessive sweating. Symptoms include nausea, dizziness, irritability, thirst, headache, and elevated body temperature.
If somebody notices that in somebody that they're in the heat with, they need to take action right away and seek help.
Extreme high temperatures can also put significant strain on the heart or make breathing more difficult. Studies have shown that exposure to extreme heat can also contribute to mental health issues, problems for pregnant women, and poor birth outcomes. To stay safe, stay out of the heat as much as possible.
You just need to take frequent breaks, you need to hydrate, and you need to decrease the intensity of your workload or your workout.
The elderly, children, and people with chronic diseases and mental health problems are at the highest risk of heat-related illness, along with people who take certain medicines. That's according to the CDC. That's a look at one of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We are heading for highs once again, pushing the century mark as we head for about 100, maybe a couple of degrees above that for some of you. Isolated storm chances this afternoon with a good south breeze, south at about 5 to 15. Temperatures dropping off into the 70s again overnight tonight, and this is about the last time they're going to do it. Future track does show some passing clouds, and of course we might see those stray showers later on this afternoon. As we head into tomorrow, a few more passing clouds, but really no shower chances whatsoever, and temperatures once again soaring into the lower 100s. And a quick look rather at the 7-day forecast. if I can get this thing to cooperate, there we go. We still got lower 100s, but I wanted to show you Wednesday into Thursday, if things continue to hold, we have a cold front coming through. It's going to knock temperatures down. It's also going to bring us some storm chances, but we got to get through all of this first before we get there. And that includes overnight lows getting into the 80s as we head into the upcoming weekend. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, Missouri's governor plans a European trip aimed at promoting international trade with the state.
Heat advisories in place once again for all of us, pushing through Sunday at 8 o'clock. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the deadly job of a firefighter becomes even more dangerous in this heat. But Joplin's first responders have some tips for how to deal with these scorching summer temperatures.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, and it's very pleasant this morning. Nice start to the day, like we had yesterday, but it's not going to last. This is really the next two last decent overnight low that we're going to see for the next few days. So if you've got something you need to do, now is probably the time to do it. Heat advisories continue. The latest one's running through Sunday at 8 o'clock, but there's some varying expiration times on there depending on where you are. 7th and Range Line in Joplin is clear and nice and sitting at 70 degrees. It is gorgeous right now, but it's not going to stay that way because the sun's going to rise. It's going to do so about 6:15 this morning, and when it does, it's going to climb higher into the sky, and it's going to bring those temperatures right behind. It's like the heat's following right behind the sun. We're all starting in the lower 70s this morning, so it's not too bad of a start, but we're going to push back to 100 degrees, maybe a pinch or two above with some isolated shower, maybe a thunderstorm chance later this afternoon, and most of us, though, staying dry. Heading into the overnight, this is the last time. We're going to dip off into the mid-70s, maybe some lower 70s as we start tomorrow, but overnight lows are going to start bouncing back into the 80s as we head into the weekend, and it's going to stay very hot. We're going to see some of our hottest temperatures yet heading into the weekend, but there's relief on the way. We'll talk about that relief a little bit later.
And hopefully we won't come close to breaking any records today.
No, we broke our record yesterday. We had a record set back, gosh, it's been a
2011.
long time. There was 2011 of 102. And of course, if you were watching Doug last night, you saw it. We actually pushed a high in Joplin of 104.
Ouch.
So, but there is the possibility we may break another record or two as we head into the weekend and the first part of next week.
Yeah, this heat wave isn't ending anytime soon, so.
There's something I've got to do. There's just a little
Thank
something.
you.
Just a little something. Every time I look over there, it's just right there and it's staring at me. So I'm not even looking at you, I'm looking at your shoulder.
Darn.
But we're all
fuzzy.
good. It happens, you know, and they, of course on these dark colored jackets, they really show up. You get those fuzzies and they just.
I appreciate it.
I'm here to help. That's what I do. If I can't bring us lower temperatures, I can at least keep us looking pretty decent.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. Missouri Governor Mike Parson and First Lady Teresa Parson will travel to Germany and the Netherlands next week to promote Missouri international trade. The governor's office said in a statement that Germany and the Netherlands are important trade partners for Missouri, with more than $902 million in Missouri goods exported to the two countries last year. The trip is funded by the Hawthorne Foundation, a Missouri nonprofit organization. Well, Governor Parson also issued an executive order to help deal with the drought. The governor says it's in response to increasingly dry conditions taking a toll on farmers and ranchers, especially in Missouri's southern counties. Among other things, the governor has directed the Departments of Natural Resources and Conservation to create a process for allowing farmers water access at state parks and conservation areas. And the DNR will assess state park areas that can be made available for haying.
This drought also impacts a large portion of our cattle industry in the state of Missouri. We are the number 3 cow-calf state in the country, and this is going to have a huge impact on our markets. There's little to no grass for livestock. Producers are having to make some really tough decisions.
Governor Parson has directed all state agencies to examine how they might help communities by temporarily suspending administrative rules. Well, if you have to be out in the heat, do so safely. KOAM's Segun Bamadele spoke with firefighters and doctors about trying to stay cool.
As the heat wave continues, Joplin firefighters says individuals need to protect themselves.
Hydrated, put yourself in a position where you're not going to be put into danger if you can, if at all possible. Be aware that during the summer months that metals, plastics, the inside of your car is extremely hot.
Although many people love their coffee, firefighter Amanda Stott says, limit your caffeine.
Caffeine is a diuretic and it makes you more dehydrated.
As we continue in the heat of summer, doctors tell us to also stay inside the shade and be mindful of what we wear.
Typically, you should be wearing loose-fitting clothing if you're going to be outside and sweating profusely. You want to remove yourself from the heat, so if you start developing a heat rash, you want to go inside and relax in the cold AC.
Dr. Pinjala also says wearing sunscreen is beneficial against the sun. In Joplin, Shagumbamdele, KOAM News.
Dr. Pinjala says heat rashes are usually not severe. Another easy and quick way to treat them, put cold towels or water on the rash area.
It's going to be another warm one today as we head back to 100. Quick look into the future. Got some passing clouds, maybe a stray shower or thunderstorm. Otherwise, most of us remaining dry. Temperatures one more time going to dip off to about the mid-70s before they really start to heat up even on the overnight level, where we'll have lows starting about there at 6 a.m. in the 80s. Again, tomorrow pushing into the hundreds. And a quick look. Keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. At the 7-day forecast, you can see triple digits continue through the start of next week. And like I said, through this weekend, we're going to start to see some of our hottest temperatures so far. But you also saw those little thunderstorm icons. We have increasing rain chances. And if that cold front really holds true Wednesday, it's going to knock temperatures down into the 80s. And it's going to make it feel downright cold by comparison to what we have seen.
Oh yeah, that's a near 20-degree difference in our highs. That's amazing.
We need the break, and hopefully that cold front will bring enough rain with it to at least put a dent in the drought situation.
We'll take that. Well, this morning we are discussing the return of Comic-Con. Now, this isn't just any con. This is the San Diego International Comic-Con, the biggest convention for comics and pop culture entertainment in the world. More than 130,000 hardcore fans will attend the con this year, and most will be dressed like their favorite characters from comic books, movies, anime, or video games. But this year, everyone will be masked up due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
But don't worry, if you can't make the trip to a massive con like the one in San Diego, there's always a local con at some time of the year. In fact, Joplin's hosting Jomo Con on July 30th. Our question, what's your favorite part of pop culture? There's a lot of options: comic books, video games, movies, TV, anime, cartoons, music, other, and it's pretty even split. 25% for anime, 25% for video games, and 25% for movies or TVs. You can vote. KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. KOAM News Now app. Take part in the discussion on Facebook. And I'm sorry, for a moment when you said Comic-Con, I just immediately thought of communism. Oh. And that might have
been the way I said it.
That could no, that's all right, because to me that would be a very interesting convention to attend.
You're required to wear a certain color. What is your pick on your favorite part of pop culture?
Honestly, I'd probably go with movies and TV.
Me too.
Like I said, just as a Star Trek fan, they've got the best of both worlds. You get TV and movies out of them. So.
Well, and a lot of the movies and TV shows and stuff, they're based off of comic books, so you're kind of including
very
that
true,
too,
very true.
Some of them I haven't read the comic books.
So like the original Batman series in the 1960s with Adam West and Burt Ward. Man, you look at it, I guess it's kind of like the original Star Trek. It's so campy and so just awkward, but it's also good because it's original. It's a classic. Plus, it's Adam West. I mean, come on.
It's classic.
Adam West.
It's classic. All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we're going to take a look at a dog willing to risk her life to protect her family from a dangerous predator.
Plus, some farmers have begun to use men's underwear to benefit their crops. It sounds crazy, but we'll have the details on what that means.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, Ukraine says Russia has depleted up to 60% of its pre-war arsenal of high-precision weaponry. But as Russia looks to replenish its stocks, it's turning to a perhaps unlikely source for components used in its surveillance drones. Nick Robertson shows us how Western technology is falling into the wrong hands.
Away from the front lines, Technical Intel Officer Maxim, not his real name, strips down a captured Russian All-Antenn surveillance drone. We are the first journalists. They are showing how Russia is using Western tech to kill Ukrainian troops.
This circuit board that can pinpoint cell phones is even maybe more dangerous than the camera.
The cell phone tracker, he says, made in the USA. The engine made in Japan. And the thermal imager module on the camera, he claims, was made in France after Russia invaded.
Drones like this one are a terror on the battlefield and are revolutionizing the way war is being fought. But the battle over control of components inside of them is almost as important as the supply of new rockets and artillery.
At the front lines, Ukrainian soldiers fear Russian drones and celebrate and share what they call successful hits. Kyiv's military intelligence say the drone's powerful cameras with thermal and infrared imaging and cell phone tracking are making it easier for Russia to kill Ukrainian soldiers.
From a UAV or a drone identifying a Ukrainian target, it can be 3 to 4 minutes for the Russians to engage them.
So French lens, Japanese engine, US-made GSM parts. What other countries' components go in here?
The list, Maxim says, is long, includes Austria, Germany, Taiwan, the Netherlands. His job, follow every serial number, find out who made it, and tell allies to figure out how to stop Russia's drone techs getting their hands on it. But stopping supply of these often commercial components won't be easy. Russia may have huge stockpiles and has a long history evading controls.
The FBI has been tracking down Russian supply networks since 2014 and trying to close them down. So if they can, they will continue trying to sidestep it. And it is a real problem because often these components are being bought by legitimate companies.
That Ukrainian intelligence officials have gone public with their frustrations that their allies' tech is ending up in Russia's hands is an indication of just how deadly and decisive Russia's drones have become.
That's a look at one of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A head-on crash in Newton County, Missouri kills both drivers. It happened just after 7:30 yesterday morning on East Highway 86, just west of Newtonia. Investigators say a car driven by 36-year-old Diana Bintner of Neosho, Missouri, crossed the center line and collided with a car driven by 66-year-old Jane Taylor of Stark City, Missouri. Bintner died at the scene. Taylor was flown to a hospital where she died. There were no other people in either vehicle. A federal audit report sharply criticizes Oklahoma officials for a lack of transparency, oversight, and accountability in the use of coronavirus relief funds that were intended for education. The state, which received nearly $40 million in pandemic funds, has already returned more than $919,000 that was unspent from the program. The document calls for the state to audit another $5.4 million for possible refund of misspent funds and develop better management and internal controls of the spending. Missouri Governor Parson and First Lady Teresa Parson will travel to Germany and the Netherlands next week to promote Missouri international trade. The governor's office said in a statement that Germany and the Netherlands are important trade partners for Missouri, with more than $902 million in Missouri goods exported to the two countries last year. The trip is funded by Hawthorne Foundation, a Missouri nonprofit organization. The Miami, Oklahoma Public Library announces it is launching 3 online services. They're called Brain Fuse Job Now, Brain Fuse Vet Now, and Brain Fuse Help Now. The programs provide job search related items such as resumes and give online tutoring. They also provide assistance to area veterans. The programs are available now to use anytime and even offer a 24/7 help center for math, and science assignments. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as you head out the door, heat advisories for all of us through at least Sunday at 8. The good news is the commute looking pretty good no matter what highway you're traveling. We don't have any concerns on the roadways this morning. Temperatures, though, will not be very pleasant. 7th and Rangeline right now. Sun is getting ready to rise at 6:15 this morning. 70 degrees in Joplin is where we are at this moment. Most of us sitting in the lower 70s. We've got one more day of this before overnight lows get nasty. Highs pushing to about 100 degrees today. Overnight lows tonight pushing to the mid-70s. And a very quick check of that 7-day forecast shows triple digits continue. Very warm temperatures by the start of next week. Overnight lows in the lower 80s and then increasing thunderstorm chances that hopefully we can keep around.
An NYPD officer's body cam tells the story of a unique police chase, while firefighters in California had an unusual arrest of their own.
Yeah, and move over, Lassie. There's a new Fearless Canine in town. Britt Conway has all of these stories in today's. Take a look at this.
An accused thief trying to stir up trouble was no match for this NYPD officer and his trusty steed. The mounted officer took off after the guy in a hot-hoofed pursuit down the street of Times Square. Eventually, they passed more officers who jumped out of their cars and were able to grab him. The suspect was then arrested and charged. Hey, buddy, why the long face? Over on the West Coast, this time it was the horse who needed help. Firefighters say a man and his horse got trapped on the side of a cliff in the American River Canyon after the horse slipped off the trail and got hurt. After rescuing the rider, a helicopter lowered down a special equine sling, and with the help of emergency veterinarians, the gray Arabian gelding was sedated and strapped in before being hoisted high above the trees to safety. It was a sight that could only be described as outstanding. And finally, what segment featuring animals would be complete without mentioning the most heroic of all the dogs? No, not you, Lassie. I'm talking about Ella, the defeater of mountain lions. This sweet, unassuming family dog was enjoying a pool day with her family in Cedar Hills, Utah, when she noticed the wild cat nearby. Unaware of the predator, the family went inside. A few minutes later, Ella showed up at the back door, covered in blood. Ella had more than 30 bite wounds all over the front of her body.
Which means she never let down and stayed in that protective stance and defended.
Expected to make a full recovery, Ella can now look forward to a lot of treats and some belly rubs in her future. For Take a Look at This, I'm Britt Conway.
That's incredible. It's always incredible to see, what your pets will do for you because I mean, people sometimes I think forget, not most people, but there are some that forget that they experience love. Yeah. They can love you just like you love them,
do,
and that you just like you can love your kids. They can love you too, and they want to keep you safe, and they want to protect you, and it's incredible the steps that they'll take to do that.
Well, this next story may be brief, but it's definitely interesting.
Done. I'm done. I'm over it. It's over.
That's right. We're talking about men's tighty whities. They're helping Delaware farmers keep their crops in check.
Yeah, I know it does sound kind of crazy, but the farmers have found a new way to use their cotton briefs by burying them under the soil.
This is for real. Hannah Chattini reports.
The more organic matter, the more microbes you typically have that all go. They typically goes hand in hand. The better the ground, the heavier it is, the more microbes and activity you have, which will transpire into the underwear being consumed by them.
In the beginning of May, the Sussex Conservation District planted several pairs of 100% cotton tighty-whities in farm fields in Bethel and Georgetown. Just shy of 60 days later, pretty much all that's left of them is the elastic waistbands.
Basically, any of the cotton that was actually buried into the soil has decomposed with the natural microbes.
The more the cotton in the underwear has disintegrated, the better the sign for healthy soil. Earthworms, also an indication of good earth, as their burrowing creates tiny channels for water to flow through.
I didn't know we had quite that much microbe activity, but I was glad to see it. I would be happy to do it for them again. Anytime you can run an experiment, you stand a chance of learning something that you didn't know.
And healthy soil means less spending on fertilizer and wider profit margins for the farmers.
Especially this year, there's extensive cost in it. They want to put down enough to get what they're after, but no extra, really.
The last time the Sussex Conservation District experimented with soiling their undies was in 2018, and they say they've only seen improvement since then.
We have seen in general that the soil health is definitely increasing just through awareness and different people trying different things. And the biggest thing is just you don't have to do it all at once. You kind of start small and see what you're comfortable with.
Now, they never explain whether it needs to be clean underwear or dirty underwear.
I mean, in the video, it was clearly clean when it went into the ground. I would imagine that makes a difference.
I would hope so.
But they did not explain that. But let's just presume it needs to be clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way you can reap the fruit of your loom.
Yes.
That
was a good one. That was a good one.
No,
but it
that
definitely
was
gives new meaning to soiling your skivvies, so yes. Well, Sussex Conservation District plans to try staggering where and when they plant the underwear next time and when they check on them.
Now, that way they say they can see how the decomposition is progressing over time and in different environments. We'll be right back, but check your forecast after this. Yet again, highs pushing into the 100-degree range with maybe an isolated shower or storm, and then temperatures dipping off into the mid-70s. We got more of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Coming up, a Thursday morning crash in Newton County, Missouri takes the lives of 2 people.
Plus, it's going to be another hot day. The sun rising, set to do so in 15 minutes. We'll have the latest on the forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Missouri lawmakers take a trip to the Economic Security Corporation in Joplin to discuss community assistance.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It's going to be another hot day, and we might as well copy and paste this for tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, because it's going to continue to be a hot day. We have heat advisories. They once again are in effect for a good chunk of us. Some varying expiration times, but the latest go until Sunday at 8 p.m. And of course, they could be extended once again. If you're doing any traveling on the roads today, the good news is that's going to be pretty easy to do. Looking pretty clear on I-44 and most of the major highways around here. Sun is rising, set to officially do so now in 14 minutes. Before it does, though, we're enjoying a nice start to the day. 70 degrees in Joplin, and most of us sitting in the lower 70s, maybe some mid-70s out there now. And as the sun goes up, those temperatures will follow right behind. Highs pushing near 100, lower 100s for a lot of us. Maybe an isolated shower or storm later in the day, but most of us remaining hot and dry. We also have temperatures. This is the last time we're going to see overnight lows in the 70s for the next few days, because a quick look at that 7-day does show where overnight lows starting Saturday night start getting into the lower 80s, and that's because look at those afternoon highs. They're going to start pushing close to 110, but the good news is increasing rain chances next week, and we do have a cold front by Wednesday, and if it holds, it's a huge temperature drop. Like you said, it's a 21-degree drop, and it does mean some increasing rain chances, and we need anything we can get. And a break from the heat is just a nice little side gift.
Well, and this is the first day since Monday that we've had a 7-day forecast that does not include temperatures completely in the triple digits.
Yeah,
we finally can dip down.
It's been quite a while. Today is day 12 of 100-degree temperatures, and they've just about all been consecutive. So it's been an unpleasant summer so far. Hopefully we can get that cold front, and hopefully it does bring us a little bit of a break.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully it works in our favor.
I'm hoping so. Fingers crossed.
All right. Well, the Joplin Police Department is providing more information from the March 8th shooting that killed 2 officers. A press conference is scheduled for today at 2 p.m. Chief Sloan Rowland is also releasing a compilation of videos from the incidents. KOAM will have a crew there and live stream the press conference. You can watch it at 2 p.m. today on the KOAM News Now app, website, or the KOAM Plus app. A head-on crash in Newton County, Missouri kills both drivers. It happened just after 7:30 Thursday morning on East Highway 86, just west of Newtonia. Investigators say a car driven by 36-year-old Diana Bittner of Neosho, Missouri, crossed the center line and collided with a car driven by 66-year-old Jane Taylor of Stark City, Missouri. Bittner died at the scene. Taylor was flown to a hospital where she died. There were no other people in either car. A federal audit report sharply criticizes Oklahoma officials for a lack of transparency, oversight, and accountability in the use of coronavirus relief funds that were intended for education. The state, which received nearly $40 million in pandemic funds, has already returned more than $919,000 that was unspent from the program. The document calls for the state to audit another $5.4 million for possible refund of misspent funds and develop better management and internal controls of the spending. Staying cool is vital this week. Cherokee County Sheriff David Grove says the department is opening its lobby to those needing to cool off. Space is limited, but those looking for some cooler air are welcome to enjoy the air conditioning for a little bit. And State Senator Bill White and other Missouri lawmakers visited the Economic Security Corporation in Joplin to discuss what services are available. There have been an increase in the number of phone calls and emails from people in the community asking for assistance. Senator White appreciates Economic Security for serving the community and is exploring options to improve its programs.
Problems where we then have to invoke the senator as the bad guy to come in and do stuff. So that isn't the case with Economic Security. They're one of our main resources for helping people that have ran into some financial difficulties. They're one of the first places we turn to.
Economic Security is trying to improve its utilities and housing assistance program with the help of Senator White. Inflation is affecting more than just grocery and gas prices. Just like many other shelters, the Joplin and Southeast Kansas Humane Societies have struggled with finding spots for surrendered pets. Shelters have tried to solve the issue with waiving adoption fees and hosting public adoption events.
We're hoping to just find as many animals, like really great homes, and get some out of here. We've been at max capacity for a while now and have been pretty slow. So these weekends that we've done adoption events like this, it's been really successful and it's been awesome to watch some of these animals go to great homes.
You can find more information on the shelters at KOAMnewsnow.com. And coming up, when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14, our own Bella Line takes a closer look at this story. Well, if you went out to Third Thursday, you might have had a chance to get inside the minds of area kids and teenagers. Visitors got to check out a play written and performed by the area's youngest thespians from 4 to 15 years old. The play is called Kidnapped in Calicotown, and it's described as a short mystery play.
I more so think it's the acting, because being in theater is something I've always wanted to do, and this is my first time being in a play. So I am still learning how to do it, but I think it's really fun. And for someone who hasn't really done it a lot, I feel like coming and doing this is just a great way to start.
The young actors performed the play multiple times last night. So cool. Miami, Oklahoma Public Library announces it is launching 3 online services. They're called BrainFuse Job Now, BrainFuse Vet Now, and BrainFuse Help Now. The programs provide job search related items such as resumes, and they give online tutoring. They also provide assistance to area veterans.
My dad is a veteran, and so I know he struggles sometimes trying to get help or getting somebody on the phone. Everybody's short-staffed, and so this kind of gives a way that he can get on the computer or on his phone and get somebody live to help him if he has a question about his benefits.
Programs are available now to use anytime and even offer a 24/7 help center for math and science assignments.
Check out this sunrise that we've got from 7th and Rangeline. Mother Nature is trying to make up for the heat by the last few days, giving us some very beautiful sunrises across the area. Unfortunately, it does not make up enough for the temperatures we're going to see later. 70 in Joplin, most of us sitting in the lower 70s, some mid-60s as well out there. And as we head through the day, temperatures pushing 100 degrees, maybe a stray shower or storm this afternoon. Otherwise, most of us remaining dry and hot. Overnight lows dipping into the 70s, and we've got one more night of the 70s before overnight lows are going to be in the lower 80s as we head through the weekend and the upcoming week.
All right. All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories.
I know, it's not good news.
I know, it's like,
there's really nothing else to add to it because it's just not good news. Anyway, sorry.
All right, coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the House committee investigating the January 6th riots at the Capitol focuses not just on what former President Donald Trump did, but what he did not do that day. We'll explain.
Plus, our own Yana Hadula takes us to the town of Red Oak, Missouri to go inside a historic building.
And the United States just experienced something it hasn't in almost 43 years, a confirmed case of polio. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, health officials in New York diagnosed the first case of polio in the U.S. in nearly a decade. Polio was once a common infection in the U.S. and around the world, but successful vaccination campaigns dramatically cut down on the number of cases. The last naturally occurring case of polio in the U.S. was in 1979, but officials say an unvaccinated young adult from Rockland County was diagnosed with the virus. They say the patient appeared to suffer from weakness and paralysis. Polio mostly causes flu-like symptoms, but can also lead to paralysis and death. Officials do not know how the person contracted polio. They've not traveled outside the country, and authorities are investigating the origins of the infection and warn even if the individual is not contagious right now, others may have been exposed. The House committee investigating the January 6th riot returns to prime time with a hearing centered around what the then President Trump did and did not do that day. Serena Marshall reports.
1 week after the Congressional Committee investigating the January 6th attacks says President Trump ignored pleas to stop the violence.
President Trump did not fail to act. He chose not to act.
In the primetime event, the 8th committee hearing, focusing on how Mr. Trump reacted to what was unfolding on Capitol Hill.
He sent tweets that inflamed and expressed support for the desire of some to literally kill Vice President Mike Pence.
The star witnesses, 2 former White House aides who resigned that day, who, among other things, recalled seeing Mr. Trump's tweet that Vice President Mike Pence did not have the courage to overturn the election results.
Looked like fuel being poured on the fire.
It was essentially him giving the green light to these people.
The White House security official told the committee that agents assigned to Vice President Pence were starting to fear for their lives.
There were calls to say goodbye to family members, so on and so forth. It was getting... For whatever the reason was on the ground, the VP detail thought that this was about to get very ugly.
The committee also played outtakes from a previously unseen video the former president taped the following day.
Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
Following the hearing, committee member Jamie Raskin said the Justice Department, not Congress, will ultimately decide if criminal charges should be filed against Mr. Trump. Serena Marshall, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Vice Chair Liz Cheney says the January 6th Select Committee will hold more hearings in the fall. No dates have been set yet. Missouri's Attorney General is suing the city of St. Louis over a bill that covers the cost of out-of-state travel for abortions. St. Louis Mayor Tishura Jones signed a measure Thursday to create the Reproductive Equity Fund. With Missouri's restrictive abortion law taking effect, her goal is to provide financial support to women in need. But Attorney General Eric Schmidt says the provision violates a state law that stops public funds from being used for performing or assisting an abortion. The state also plans to seek a preliminary injunction that would prohibit the city from even creating the Reproductive Equity Fund in the first place. But Mayor Jones says she will not back down and vows to help women get the reproductive medical care they need. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Red Oak 2, a community in Carthage, is growing with a new historic building. KOAM's Iana Hautula took a tour and shows us some of the progress.
Red Oak 2, a recreation of a town Red Oak in Missouri, is getting a new addition. Larry Cernick recently purchased an old building that served as the first courthouse in Jasper County in 1840s.
One of the options was to just demo it and use the space for my house in the future, and I just hated to see that happen.
Jonathan Sheldon, whose family owned the cabin, is happy it can get a new life at Red Oak 2.
And my dad ran the old cabin shop that was on the property there, as well as the courthouse.
It will be the oldest building in the village, which is a recreation of the village of Red Oak, as remembered by Lowell Davis. Davis, who has passed, grew up in the real village of Red Oak in Lawrence County.
This will make a great fit there. It'll actually be the oldest building that we have at Red Oak 2, this cabin once we get it there. And the goal is to try to make them like they were when they were first built.
The cabin was taken apart and transported to Red Oaks too. Danny Pippin is helping with the project. He says rebuilding will begin soon.
I built a lot of log houses, but this one here, all the log houses I built are new log houses. This one here is the first old log house that I actually will have moved and put back together.
The crew says they are planning to have the cabin ready for people to see later in the fall, after the Red Oak Festival in September. In Carthage, Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
You can visit Red Oak 2 on Kafer Road in Carthage, and if you're interested in the festival, that's scheduled for September the 10th. We are watching temperatures climb again. I have good news finally, I guess, for later on. We'll get to that in just a second. Today is day number 12 of 100-degree temperatures. Heat advisories continue for just about all of us through the weekend, but this is the good news I was telling you about. We're watching increasing rain chances by next week. Doesn't that just sound nice to be able to say? Rain. We haven't said the word rain really hardly at all for the last week, 2 weeks now. Heat advisories, though, the latest of these running until Sunday at 8 p.m. And, of course, they could easily be reissued once you see the 7-day forecast. Sunrise looking gorgeous at 7th and Range Line, 70 degrees in Joplin right now. Most of us sitting in the lower 70s. We've even got some upper 60s down south. But all of that will give way to, once again, 100-degree temperatures, 94 by noon, 100 by 5, 99 by 8. Maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm, but most of us are going to remain dry for today, but that's going to start to change as long as the forecast holds, and I'm really hoping it does. It's held up so far. Hopefully it continues to. Overnight lows getting into the 70s. This is the next to last night that's going to happen. Future track does show those clouds, and again, the stray shower, maybe a thunderstorm. Like I said, though, most of us remaining dry. Dipping off into the 70s again tomorrow night. And then we're going to warm right back up into the lower 100s once again, unfortunately, as we head into Saturday. I keep forgetting what day of the week it is. The good news is, because this is the only good news out of low humidity, is the fact that our heat index values aren't going to be extreme. Whatever the temperature is outside is what it's going to feel like. Unfortunately, that temperature outside is going to be pushing 110 as we go into the weekend. Alert days through Tuesday, but increasing storm chances. And if this cold front really makes its way in on Wednesday, 20-degree difference, 21-degree difference going into Thursday, but we got to get through overnight lows in the 80s and afternoon highs pushing 110. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, with the even more contagious BA.5 subvariant surging nationwide, many people have new questions about the risk of COVID-19. Danya Bacchus has more.
COVID cases and hospitalizations are increasing across the country, with the highly contagious BA.5 subvariant now accounting for about 78% of all COVID infections in the U.S. Now, many people are asking, if they had COVID in the last 3 months, will they have immunity against this variant?
So if you got COVID 3 months ago, it's very likely you had the BA.2 variant, which is an earlier variant. The BA.5 variant is so different from all the variants, all the Omicron variants that came before it. It's very unlikely you have much in the way of protection from that prior infection.
CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder is editor-at-large at KFF's Kaiser Health News. She says this new subvariant is one reason why those eligible for a booster should not delay getting it.
People who are eligible for a second booster are people who are 50 and up or 12 and up and immunocompromised. You should go and get that second booster now.
Others are asking if there will be a specific vaccine for the BA.5 variant.
Moderna and Pfizer are both working on these updated combo vaccines that will include the original formulation as well as a BA.5 component. Those will not be available until probably late October, early November. So if you're eligible for a booster now, don't wait for that one. You'll still be able to get that one.
And what about the severity of BA.5 in children? Dr. Gounder says we don't know much, but parents should get children vaccinated as soon as possible because tens of thousands have been hospitalized and hundreds have died from COVID. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
CDC says the U.S. is averaging more than 120,000 cases a day, but with many people testing at home, the actual number is likely much higher. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We are heading for temperatures once again pushing to about 100 degrees or so. All of us starting off in about the lower 70s, even some upper 60s. We may see an isolated shower or thunderstorm later on this afternoon, but otherwise it's going to be dry and hot yet again. This is the next to last night. We're going to see temperatures like this overnight with them dropping off into the 70s. Quick look at the 7-day forecast does show this. 100-degree temperatures. Alert days through Tuesday. We may see more of these, just like heat advisories run through Sunday at the latest. It's a good possibility they're going to be extended through at least Wednesday. Overnight lows tomorrow night in the mid-70s, and then they get into the lower 80s before we have a cold front. If it holds, this cold front's going to come through Wednesday, increasing storm chances. And after it moves through, we're talking a 21-degree difference in high temperatures and overnight lows getting back to 71. In fact, overnight low Thursday is looking to be in the 60s. Hopefully it holds. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Coming up, a Thursday morning crash in Newton County, Missouri takes the lives of 2 people.
The sun starting to peek between the trees at 7th and Range Line, despite how pretty that, look at that. That's beautiful. Despite that, it's going to be another hot one, the latest in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Missouri lawmakers take a trip to the Economic Security Corporation in Joplin to discuss community assistance.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm Chris Warner. As I mentioned, it's going to be another hot one. Mother Nature tried to do us a solid by giving us a very beautiful sunrise, but it's not going to make up for the temperatures that we are seeing, and it will continue to see. Skywatch Storm Tracker, there are a few showers out northwest of Chanute. They are really not going to do much as the day progresses. Heat advisories, the latest of these go until Sunday at 8, but you can see everybody in our area, with the exception of Benton County at least, under these heat advisories. Even though they expire, the odds are, like we've seen over the last several days, they'll probably be extended and run through at least Tuesday of next week, if not Wednesday. Right now it's 70 degrees in Joplin under that beautiful sunrise. Most of us sitting in the lower 70s, and as the day goes on, we are going to push near 100 degrees, maybe just a pinch above for some of us. Isolated shower, maybe a thunderstorm, but the majority of us going to remain dry this afternoon. But those chances of rain will increase next week. As we end the overnight tonight, lows dipping off into the 70s. This is the next to last night that is going to happen, because then our overnight lows are only going to be dropping into the lower 80s. But that's because we're going to have afternoon highs pushing close to 110 degrees before a cold front moves in. So I've got the 7-day. We'll break down the 7-day in more detail, but there's a cold front coming, rain chances coming. We just have a few more days to hold on. I know for farmers that's no consolation, because I know some of them are already losing crops, and a few more days is only going to make it worse. But we are getting close to at least some point of relief.
Hold on.
By next week.
Just hold on.
It's on. If the forecast holds, it's on its way.
And I'm ready for fall. Can we just keep those lows and then not let it heat back up?
It would be really nice if we could do that. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily going to happen. But I guess the one point of good news there is, because I know some of you at home can see that, those overnight lows, I can point right there, those overnight lows transition to highs by Thursday. If that cold front doesn't die before it gets here. And right now it's at least still holding on strong. So hopefully it'll get here, it'll help, and it'll be a lot better.
All right, looking forward to that, and at least it's given us that hope, that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, we've been talking about it.
It was in the 10-day, now it's in the 7-day.
Right, it's getting closer. We've been talking about it, and it's getting closer. That's a nice thing, too. I know the producers are freaking out because I've been talking for 10 minutes, but that's the good thing. Like you said, it's progressively getting closer, and it's the fact, too, that it's remained on the forecast.
Yeah.
The forecast hasn't changed yet, showing that it's not going to happen. So hopefully it continues to just creep in closer and closer.
And not only has it remained on the forecast, but the actual high has gotten lower. So
yeah, we have finally have a day on there without 3 digits on it. So
all right, thanks, Chris. Well, head-on crash in Newton County, Missouri kills both drivers. It happened just after 7 Thursday morning on East Highway 86. Just west of Newtonia. Investigators say a car driven by 36-year-old Diana Bittner of Neosho, Missouri, crossed the center line and collided with a car driven by 66-year-old Jane Taylor of Stark City, Missouri. Bittner died at the scene. Taylor was flown to a hospital where she died. There were no other people in either car. Missouri Governor Mike Parson and First Lady Teresa Parson will travel to Germany and the Netherlands next week to promote Missouri international trade. The governor's office said in a statement that Germany and the Netherlands are important trade partners for Missouri, with more than $902 million in Missouri goods exported to the two countries last year. The trip is funded by the Hawthorne Foundation, a Missouri nonprofit organization. A federal audit report sharply criticizes Oklahoma officials for a lack of transparency, oversight, and accountability in the use of coronavirus relief funds that were intended for education. The state, which received nearly $40 million in pandemic funds, has already returned more than $919,000 that was unspent from the program. The document calls for the state to audit another $5.4 million for possible refund of misspent funds and develop better management and internal controls of the spending. Many families in Jasper and the surrounding counties are struggling to make ends meet. State Senator Bill White and the Economic Security Corporation are discussing what services the community needs. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has the details.
Many Southwest Missouri residents reach out to economic security in their time of need. Lawmaker Bill White is here exploring the different services this organization provides to the community.
But always utility assistance, such a big item, and it takes such a large chunk out of a person's disposable income. When we can pay that, that may not get the person out of poverty, but if we can pay their utility bill, then that gives them more disposable income to pay for other bills.
Economic Security Corporation is helping residents in the community with utility assistance, housing placement, and child development. Officials say lack of awareness is holding them back.
It's amazing what you don't know that can help people, that people would just, well, you should know that. Well, how? And so this is a wonderful thing where they're going through and actually reviewing all the different programs they've got.
And Joins say that they're always ready to help.
Yes, we're getting a lot of additional funds, and it's literally getting to the point where we can say to the state and the federal government, okay, we've got enough money now to administer this, so you can back off for a little while.
In Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
If you or someone you know needs assistance, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com to get contact information for the Economic Security Corporation. Well, if you went out to Third Thursday, you might have had a chance to get inside the minds of area kids and teenagers. And visitors got to check out a play written and performed by the area's youngest thespians from 4 to 15 years old. The play is called Kidnapped in Calicotown, and it's about a detective that comes to the town in search of a missing boy. The nerves of being on stage didn't affect one actress.
Definitely, you just gotta relax and not focus on anybody, because it doesn't matter what they think as long as you're having fun.
The play was about 15 to 20 minutes in length and was free of charge to attend.
Something else that's free of charge, heat.
I'm
gonna have to probably bill you for the cooler weather, but the heat's free and it is on. Temperatures soaring to near 110 by the start of next week. Cold front Wednesday might actually bring us temperatures in the 80s. And like we were talking earlier, the forecast is holding. Like you said, that had been on the 10-day, it's slowly creeping closer. And I'm just hopeful that Mother Nature plays out, does the right thing, and gives us some relief by midweek. It's going to seem like an eternity between now and then.
And you say the heat may be free, but avoiding it is not.
No.
I've definitely been charged by my energy company.
Yeah. I've seen
Doing
those
his
memes,
part.
those Tiger King memes with him standing there and you hearing your air conditioner running continuously. He says, I'm never going to financially recover from this.
Which is crazy because I've been trying so hard to reduce my energy use in my house, and it's comparing this month with last year's. You know, at the same time, my energy use is way down. Despite our higher temperatures, my energy use is way down, but my bill's the same, if not higher.
That's an interesting one. See, I've changed the temperature on the air conditioning at home. I've cranked it up a little bit during the day, and the problem is it's just our house is in the tornado zone in Joplin. There's no trees around it.
Coverage.
And so even though I've turned the air up a few degrees, the house is still just cooking throughout the day. It's on the south end of the street, so I mean, it's just baking all day long. So even if the air conditioner's set up a few degrees, it's still running a lot just to maintain it at that.
Do you have a lot of windows?
Believe it or not, there's only one south-facing window. All the others face east-west. There's one facing east, one facing west, and all the others are on the north side of the house.
Well, your west windows, you could, certain types of curtains or put some film on your windows
we've got
to
some
help
curtains
with stuff
and
like
stuff,
that.
and that certainly helps. It's just, just overall the house is by itself and it just bakes in an oven.
Well, if you plant some trees in 20 years, you'll be taken care of.
Hopefully, assuming we can plant them and they survive right now.
Very true. Well, that's a look at our top stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, and it's Friday, so our own Shannon Becker will be in studio bringing us the 3 big news stories.
As a matter of fact, he's right with me. Plus, we're going to take a look at the news you need to know before you head out the door. We'll be right back.
All right, it's Friday, and I've got Shannon Becker in studio with me here this morning to talk about the big 3 stories of the week.
And we've got them.
Well, that's good.
Like last week I told you.
If you showed up without them, then we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, well last week, I told you we put them in a bingo tumbler and stuff like that. Yeah. This week we just threw them in the air and saw what came down first. So number 3 this week, what everyone's talking about, the most shared stories online, a house in the Easttown neighborhood of Joplin. In fact, just straight across the street from the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest Missouri. This is one of the Joplin Housing Authority residents. Joplin Fire Department say it started after some flammable items were placed on the breezeway of the porch. So it was an accidental fire. No one was injured in that
Did they
fire.
ever figure out what those flammable items were?
They didn't necessarily say, but maybe barbecue briquettes. How about that?
Okay.
That's going to be my guess. Number 2 story, Joplin News First. You can find us at KOAM News Now. This happened Friday night into Saturday morning, about 2 a.m. Saturday morning. A Carthage teen was killed in a crash near Grand Falls, and we were there. A 19-year-old Keenan Reed from Carthage was laid to rest on Wednesday. Tonight there will be a vigil for him at 9 o'clock at Cunningham Park. Our number 1 story, I'm a little perplexed by this, and I know a lot of other people are as well. Originally endangered and missing, a woman from Alba, Missouri, is now, Jasper County Sheriff's deputies say, they just like to check her well-being. She's been seen on video, Michelle Stone and her dog Liberty, driving in her car. She does not have her cell phone, but they've seen her on video, restaurants, going through the drive-thru, other places like that. So they just want to check on her well-being, and her family does as well. So Michelle, give everybody a call, just let them all settle down. And our bonus story of the week. It was yesterday morning. I know you've already mentioned it this morning, a tragic story. We were there live, and no survivors in a head-on crash just to the west of Newtonia. It was a Stark City woman and a Neosho woman. One died at the scene, the other one was life-flighted to Freeman, and she died there. More information on that story and our big 3, plus all the others, you can find KOAM News Now.
It's a little bit upsetting that some of our big 3 are actually accidents, fatality accidents too. I mean, we hate seeing that happen. I would much prefer the most popular stories online. The biggest news is when something opens.
Or a clown.
Free chicken.
Yeah,
or,
there you go, free chicken. Well, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, camping out for chicken.
Yeah, well, we can't make up the news, even though, that would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? But that's what we do. We go where the live news is happening. What everybody wants to know, what's going on. So we're just a little bit popular. So check out our website, KOAM News Now.
Yeah, definitely do that. And stick around with us, and we'll have you back here in our next hour on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. All right, sounds good. We'll be right back. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant First Class Herbert Cobb. The native of Joplin, Missouri, served in Korea and saw wartime duty from November 1950 to November of 1951 as part of the 300 Army Field Artillery attached to the 2nd Marine Division. This highly decorated veteran earned the Purple Heart, Yoke Leaf Cluster, a Presidential Unit Citation, and the Distinguished Cross, and the Sharpshooter Medal. To Sergeant First Class Herbert Cobb, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
It is now time for us to start celebrating some birthdays this fine Friday morning, and we begin with number 1, Sylvie Green, turning number 1 over in Fredonia. Happy birthday, Sylvie.
And we've got Bree Beasley celebrating her 2nd birthday. What a cutie there. She's in Girard.
Party in the bus this morning as Olivia Burns turns 4. Happy birthday.
Little cowgirl there. Love it. And Chrisley Harmon, turning 8 years old this year, with birthday love coming from Mommy, Daddy, Bentley, Nana, and Pop.
We've also got Ellie Stennett turning 9 in Iola. Happy birthday, Ellie.
All right. And Isaiah Adam, celebrating birthday number 9 in Pittsburgh with love from the family.
We're also celebrating in Pittsburgh with Shelby Linson, turning 29 today. Happy birthday, Shelby.
All right, keep on smiling. Craig Tuba is 37 years old this year. Nope, it's a wonderful one for you.
Also turning 37 over in Baxter Springs is Julie Killebrew, and this comes with happy birthday wishes from Mom.
And in Erie, Randy Locke, celebrating birthday number 68 this year.
Then we've got J.D. Bond turning 69 years old in Humboldt. Happy birthday, J.D.
All right. And it's time to celebrate with Skeeter in Columbus. Mr. Richard Frank is 73 years old this year.
We've also got David Clark turning 78 in Crestline. And I just noticed, I believe that David is Skeeter. It was a very big note in our list, but it noted that he was pictured with his great-grandson, Jackson. So I believe David is Skeeter. You know what? Skeeter's a good nickname for everybody.
I'm sorry. It was on the wrong line.
Oh, no. Okay. I was just told Richard is Skeeter. We're missing a line. So you have to understand, we have this nice little table here, but there's a line missing. So. We're always confused. David, happy birthday. Everybody's Skeeter today.
Well, no, it makes sense that David is Skeeter because he would be pictured with his grandson, and Richard was not.
Well, but see, we're missing a line in the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, regardless, David, happy birthday. You are 78 in Crestline. We'll get it figured out.
We will. Carolyn McKee is turning 80 in Columbus. Happy birthday, Carolyn.
And Carlisle Flanagan celebrating birthday number 81. That's a pretty name there. In Jasper, Missouri.
Over in Liberal, we've got Roger Phillips turning 90 years old. Happy birthday.
Florence Kimray celebrating birthday number 96 in Pittsburgh.
We've got Janie Ruddock celebrating a birthday once again in the bus. Over in Columbus, Janie, happy birthday.
All right. And it's a 5th anniversary this year. That's a cool picture. In the snow.
Literally.
Where we all wish we had a little of that right now, I think. Blaze and Devin Heckert celebrating 5 years together in Pittsburgh.
We've got Cleo Warden. Check this out. Cleo Warden is celebrating 104 years young in Carthage. Happy birthday, Cleo.
All right. And in Chautauqua, Gage Kirkwood turning 17 years old this year. Stanley Robinson, a resident at Medical Lodges in Columbus. Happy birthday to you. And our neighbor in Crestline, Jim Ganaway. Happy birthday.
And we've got Betty Davis turning 90 in Wyandotte. This comes with love from the family. And Amanda Steve celebrating in Parsons.
All right, if you have a birthday, please send them to us at birthdays@KOAMTV.com or birthdays@KOAMNewsNow.com.
And of course, while you're there, make sure you sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. When you do that, you are automatically eligible to receive special offers from local businesses. It's super, super easy to sign up for at our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Make sure you join the KOAM Birthday Club. Forecast today, it's going to be another hot one. 100 degrees for an afternoon high, maybe a stray shower or storm. The rest of us staying pretty darn dry. Overnight tonight, we're going to get down into the mid-70s. That's next to last time that's going to happen. A very quick check of the forecast, 7-day. That's why I'm talking about. Alert days through Tuesday. Highs pushing close to 110 as we start the week. Overnight lows getting into the lower 80s. And then we've got a cold front, if the models still hold, coming in Wednesday into Thursday. 21-degree difference in temperatures and rain chances, which is something we most definitely need. Now, we're going to check in with Gail King to see what's happening over on CBS Mornings.
I'm Gail King. Coming right up on CBS Mornings, it's his first interview since the loss of his daughter. Rapper Master P shares his new mission to spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
Here's A check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The head-on crash in Newton County, Missouri kills both drivers. It happened just after 7 Thursday morning on East Highway 86, just west of Newtonia. Investigators say a car driven by 36-year-old Diana Bittner of Neosho, Missouri, crossed the center line and collided with a car driven by 66-year-old Jane Taylor of Stark City, Missouri. Bittner died at the scene. Taylor was flown to a hospital where she died. There were no other people in either vehicle. A federal audit reports sharply criticizes Oklahoma officials for a lack of transparency, oversight, and accountability in the use of coronavirus relief funds that were intended for education. The state, which received nearly $40 million in pandemic funds, has already returned more than $919,000 that was unspent from the program. The document calls for the state to audit another $5.4 million for possible refund of misspent funds and develop better management and internal controls of the spending. Missouri Governor Parson and First Lady Teresa Parson will travel to Germany and the Netherlands next week to promote Missouri international trade. The governor's office said in a statement that Germany and the Netherlands are important trade partners for Missouri. With more than $902 million in Missouri goods exported to the two countries last year. The trip is funded by the Hawthorne Foundation, a Missouri nonprofit organization. Miami, Oklahoma Public Library announces it's launching 3 online services. They're called BrainFuse Job Now, BrainFuse Vet Now, and BrainFuse Help Now. Programs provide job search related items such as resumes and give online tutoring. They also provide assistance to area veterans. Programs are available now to use anytime and even offer a 24/7 help center for math and science assignments. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And a check of that forecast that you need to know as you head out the door this morning. Temperatures once again going to head into the lower 100s for most of us. Maybe a stray shower or storm. The majority of us, though, going to remain dry. Overnight lows getting back into the lower to mid 70s as we start tomorrow. This is the next to last night that will happen because a check of the 7-day shows as we head into Friday night, 75 is an overnight low, and then alert days through Tuesday, temperatures pushing 110 through Wednesday, overnight lows creeping into the lower 80s. But then, if everything continues to stay the way it is, cold front sweeps through Wednesday into Thursday, 21-degree drop in temperatures. Overnight lows Thursday could actually reach into the upper 60s. So we are certainly hopeful that that holds true because we need the relief, we need some rain, we need something to give us a break from what is now, for most of us, a severe drought situation.
Oh yes, got to be careful with that.
Yeah, it's been bad. Farmers losing crops. The drought situation upgraded to severe for most of us. Mm-hmm. Any rain we get, it may only make a dent, but a dent is better than nothing at all.
At this point, it's almost like when it rains, we need to put out buckets and save what we
save what we can. If you've got, put them in your driveway and save what's on your driveway and just go dump it through where you need it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making summer's best peach butter in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I've heard of apple butter, but not peach butter. Mount Vernon, famous for apple butter.
Yes, it is.
And it's delicious, too. I love apple butter. Well, your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. The U.S. victims of terrorism say they've been cut out of a White House decision to direct billions in funds from the Afghan Central Bank to a small group of 9/11 families. Ahead on CBS Mornings, you'll hear what they are asking Congress to do.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, our own Shannon Becker heads back into the studio with us to tell us about the big 3 stories of the week.
Yeah, plus, football superstar J.J. Watt steps into his own shoes to help a woman out. We'll explain.
All right. That'll wrap it up.
Yeah, that will. We'll see you back here next week at 5 a.m.
We're going to do it again today at noon.